all that energy Trump puts into defending himself could be used for action and policy. You might say, but Tulsi Gabbard needs to defend herself more, or she won't get elected. I'm less and less concerned over whether she wins in mainstream news. I have appointed her president, and she's president, and that's the fact, regardless of how mainstream news reports it. What you see in mainstream news is all smoke and mirrors. We've had an emergency in this country because Jesuits have been running the West for a long time, and I've been cleaning house. Trump tried, but had his hands and legs tied, literally and figuratively. Tulsi Gabbard seems to have my heart and will be my representative. I plan to vote for her just to show the world that I have appointed her as my president to work with me in leading the nation. I've had to assert myself more to overcome Trump's bad policies. I now realize that Melania has been running the country, and Melania is a disaster as U.S. president. She's truly the bitch of the West Wing. I have written a huge body of law to help this country and any country that wants a just, fair, and effective government. Though I'd rather work on my writing, I can't sit back and let the country go to hell just because the wicked bitch of the West Wing has taken over the U.S. I had to kick her out and have declared her guilty of high treason. As long as I have the ability to influence this country in the right direction, I have the moral obligation to do so. I plan to save the world from the Antichrist and give this world a bit of a reprieve before the rapture. I shall meet Christ in peace at the judgment, knowing I did my duty to the best of my ability, even overriding Satan's power structures that opposed me. I did what was best for the world, and Tulsi will probably share in my rewards at heaven's throne. Working from a shoestring budget, I've created a website, make regular YouTube videos, written a huge body of law, and I'm leading the world in the right direction. I do this not for glory, but to serve humanity and help lead it in the direction that leads to peace, prosperity, and love for each other. I've had to weed out those who desire to rule over us with cruelty, tyranny, craft, and deceit, and it has not been easy. The war is not won, but I will not cave into tyranny and have chosen my men and Tulsi Gabbard to lead with me to free the world from tyranny. Check out my website at gabrielchana.blog for all about me. I'll have links underneath this video. I have worked hard on it and have had a website since 2010. And yes, it's true, I am literally half King David and half Catherine the Great. Catherine the Great had a great team and did not lead alone, and so did King David. Part of great leadership is knowing who to put on your team. The reason the world is in such a mess is because our true leaders, Lori McBride and Melania Trump, are consumed with vanity and pride and care nothing about the welfare of those under their care. The two bitches need to go. They remind me of Queen Jezebel controlling King Ahab, though I would put Donald Trump in a higher category than King Ahab of Israel. Though Trump could have been wiser in his choice of a wife, he got into trouble like Solomon by allowing a hot whore to get his heart. I have closed the borders, canceled Trump's sanctions and tariffs, reinstated many treaties like the INF Treaty, and have ordered all of Trump's policies evaluated and possibly reversed. My laws for this are at links below this video. I've created a Palestinian state in all of Mexico, 10 miles south of the U.S. border, from the Pacific to the Gulf of Mexico. You can see my new law about this at the links beneath this video. It's hard to speculate what kind of president Trump would have been if not married to Melania. But this man needs to be judged more by his actions than his words. He's good with words. I have no regrets I voted for him, but I've been forced to write law to compensate for the work of the true president from 2017 to now, Melania Trump. I've had to fire Trump because of her. I believe my actions are saving the country and the world. Conservatives tend to oversimplify the world's problems, blaming it all on Muslims or socialists. It's more complex than that. The establishment liberals do the same thing, blaming it all on conservative racism or social inequality. The root problem to me seems narcissism from the left and the right. The problem is the establishment, crony capitalism, and those in both parties too in love with their pocketbooks over what's best for the country and who appeal to fanatics in their base to promote personal agendas that have nothing to do with the country's welfare. I don't agree completely with any politician and have been forced to support viewpoints from the left and the right. Taking complex problems and trying to make them pure black and white doesn't solve anything because these problems are not pure black and white. So I sit back, analyze the situation, see all sides, and then imagine what would happen if we go forward using certain positions. In the end, I often decide the best way forward is a blend between the right and the left. The candidate closest to my views is Tulsi Gabbard, though she tends to go further left on some issues that I'm comfortable with. Because of Trump's rhetoric, and that are too extreme right and too inflexible, they don't really offer solutions either. I am my own person and have noticed fanatics from all sides tend to label me because I attack their God, whatever it is. To me, the only God should be the truth. Sometimes the truth is hidden underneath a mountain of rhetoric and garbage, and you have to dig to find it. But when you find it, you need to stand by it and not allow fanatics to drag you into their garbage pit of slander, labels, emotional appeals that become mindless debates that accomplish nothing except time wasted and name slinging. I call a spade and then go forward. Tulsi does this too. One thing I won't tolerate is the sociopath who pretends to care about my mental state just because I'm so far ahead of my time they can't even lick my coattails, and recommends I need mental health therapy. That's an old line used by bureaucrats and tyrants to silence geniuses who brilliantly expose their shenanigans as cult leaders who've brainwashed their following into complicity with murders, slanders, and rapes of innocents. When someone tries this on me, they get blocked. I know then that I'm dealing with a sociopath, and sociopaths are dangerous. Sometimes I'm not sure whether I'm dealing with a sociopath, but basically when they can't intelligently refute what you say or what you perceive, they resort to character assassination, and they've found the most believable and effective character assassination against me is to portray me to the world as crazy. Yeah, they did this to Galileo when he said the sun does not circle the earth, but the earth circles the sun. Just because everyone believes a lie does not mean someone who believes the truth is crazy. It might just mean that everyone has been duped into believing a lie, and you're the only sane or courageous one who believes or tells the truth. Their retort usually goes something like this: wow, this crazy lady actually believes in clones. To which I say, so what? Can you prove clones don't exist? They take truths I expose that are hard to believe for some people who can't see what's happening around them, and play on that to pander to those who can't think for themselves and need someone to do all their thinking for them. Or either they're too intellectually lazy to have an original thought, or they're stupid, or just wicked and only want to believe or promote what promotes their lies and helps ensure that their place and standing in society is not compromised. In other words, they want to keep their cushy bank account. I don't give a flip whether people think I'm crazy when I know I have the truth. But I have to expose the liars and will continue to do so even if it means my reputation is shattered. In the meanwhile, I'll continue to write laws that I feel make a difference, even though I do it on a shoestring budget. My payment is knowing I'm making a difference, and the rewards I'll get at the judgment seat of Christ for using all the talents God has given me for the betterment of humanity and to promote love, justice, and truth. I'm actually 50% King David and 60% Catherine the Great, with a 10% overlap between the two profiles. It appears God ordained my existence for this time, and I'm part of his grand plan. Though I'm not directly descended from Catherine the Great, I came from the gene pool from which she was descended. This gene pool migrated to Japan around 1000 AD and became the Oshu Fujiwara family in Japan. They were a royal family that had Catherine the Great genes, and the Abe family. Those with Catherine the Great genes escaped Russia so they wouldn't be executed by jealous rivals, and ended up in Japan around 1000 AD and married into the Abe family as part of the Emishi clan. They probably chose to associate with the Amishi because the Amishi look more Caucasian than Japanese, so they could blend in without being suspected as coming from Russia. Escaped royals from another country would have been a great threat to Japan's leadership at the time, so they had to lie about where they came from to survive. Jesus says they all went to heaven, even though they were devout Buddhists, probably because they loved peace. The Homura Tatsu mini-series tells their story and why the Oshu Fujiwara clan became history in Japan. Basically, they chose honor over ambition, much like how I am, and paid for it with their lives, and their reign ended. Check out the links underneath this video. I don't regret I voted for Trump, but I will not be voting for him again. His wife rules him. It's not his fault, but it's a fact. I just see Trump as part of my evolution as American leader, and I'm getting closer to finding ones I can work with. My views are honestly a bit blend between the Dems and the Republicans. I hate things about both parties. I'm mostly a libertarian, but I have some strong green and constitutional positions as well. Anyways, I see things falling into a divine plan, and I think Tulsi and I are the next stage in that plan. Perhaps Trump will get reelected, but I think Jesus sees Tulsi and I as the real president. So Trump will get the credit for the work that Tulsi and I are doing. We don't care. We want what's best for the country, even if we don't get credit for it. Tulsi, like me, appears to have a true humanitarian heart. I'm just glad I found her. I don't care if she wins or not, or even if she gets the Dem nomination. I'm beginning to think it might be better if she doesn't win. Being the mainstream news president is a joke. You get stuck in the Lori McBride Jesuit cog and can't do what's right and best for the country. Better to be the shadow president. We'll get our honors and rewards in the next life where it matters. It doesn't matter to me whether I get credit, as long as I can lead the country in the right direction. Trump can get all the credit. I don't care. I just don't want him to undo my hard work and the laws I've written and to enforce them. But he's not the president, not even the mainstream news president. That's the problem. It's been Melania. But if he wins in 2020 in the mainstream news elections, Tulsi and I will need to be sure he's not able to get anything done that would oppose us. We need to negate him so that my policies go through. To know my positions on most issues, study what Ron Paul, Clarence Thomas, and Jill Stein believe and combine them. I believe in the death penalty for willing and knowing Lori McBride Jesuits. I'm very much against regime change wars and a very strong believer in peace and freedom. However, I feel the greatest opponents to peace and freedom are Lori McBride Jesuits, who must be removed like a cancer from any country that wants peace and freedom. The only legit war is war to remove Lori McBride Jesuits from a country. In areas where there's disagreement between Ron Paul and Clarence Thomas against Jill Stein, I'd probably side with Ron Paul or Clarence Thomas. I believe the government should be used to regulate those aspects of society that, if not regulated, would lead to some groups being unfairly marginalized. That's why I have a national health care plan and believe government should break up or regulate big tech so that the rich and elite can't rule the world at the expense of the poor. But if regulation's not necessary and imposes unnecessary burdens on people, the government should butt out. The decision as to whether the government should regulate depends on whether some people are being marginalized. If no marginalization is occurring, the government should let free enterprise rule, only breaking in to prevent monopolies and criminal capitalists from ruling over the poor and helpless. That would explain the disparity in some of my policies. I believe in strong borders and that Lori McBride Jesuits should be executed, and no Lori McBride Jesuits are allowed to live in any conspiracy law honoring country. Note of interest, Ron Paul and Jill Stein are both physicians, and Clarence Thomas is a Yale Law School grad and Supreme Court Justice. I tend to agree with high IQ people. So, that's the update. That's my State of the Union address. And I am just really glad to have that I found Tulsi. She has my heart.